Many of you may be hearing that we are in a recession or entering a recession. And technically, we're potentially entering a recession. Now, what is a recession? A recession is technically defined as the GDP, so gross domestic product, not effectively growing in the last 2 quarters or over the last 6 months. So what that really means is that money's not being made the way it was being made beforehand. And so it is technically a recession. And what this usually means is that people start to panic. Businesses start to feel a bit fearful because supply and demand is not the same as it was before. They're not making as much money. And so they've had to find new ways to make money. Now, of course, we've recently just come out of a global pandemic, and technically we were in a recession at some point, I believe, early on in 2020 for about 3 months, which I believe is the shortest ever recession ever recorded. Now, on average, recessions last for about 11 months, okay, give or take. You could be in a recession for a year, maybe even 3 years. Now, again, recorded history shows us different examples of what trigger recessions and how long they've been. It's very important to understand that nobody actually knows what's happening. I'm not a financial expert. I'm not going to be a financial expert. But these are just things that I've thought about myself or researched or discussed or just listened to, whatever it may be. So I thought I'd share this with you. Now, there are so many different factors that have triggered this potential recession that we may experience in October, November 22 of time of recording. Now, this includes the pandemic, okay, of course. There was people who were isolating. The borders were closed. Economic growth was low due to the fact that businesses couldn't really do things they could do. You've also got the fact that transportation, the things that bring things back and forth, was slowed down as well, okay, especially over international borders. So these are all things to consider. You've also got the fact that we've had this war happening in Russia, Ukraine, okay, or in Ukraine with Russia. And so they are huge contributors to natural gases. I believe Ukraine is the 15th largest contributor to natural gas. You've got Russia, who is a big contributor to oil reserves, etc. And so this affects, again, movement, power, getting things done. And so if there is a war, that of course affects energy coming into different places that don't, naturally produce those energies or just don't produce those energies at all. And so you're going to get an increase in prices, okay? Because that is a strategy to hold on to reserves, or because it's just more expensive to, cost for fuel, traveling back and forth from different places. And so these are all things to bear in mind when it comes to this whole recession situation. Now, again, this also affects the markets, okay? So the stock markets. Now, of course, some of you who are more versed than me will understand what a bear market is and a bull market. In this situation, usually what happens is when a recession happens, a bear market occurs. And all that really means is that there is a drop of about 20% of the stock market, so to speak. And so that, I think on average, lasts for about 418 days, give or take, okay? Now, again, I'll put links to where I found these figures and information. Some of this stuff has come from Harvard Business Review, as well as other places as well. And so, again, think about that. What happens there? People start panicking. They feel like they're losing their money because people are betting against the market, so to speak, or they don't trust in the companies no more. So what can we really do in these situations? Well, as an individual, I believe that it's important to have what I call a entrepreneurial conservative mindset, okay? And the reality is that you've prepared for this. I'm not saying you're preparing for doom and gloom, but you naturally have developed and adopted a mindset where you're more conservative in terms of your approach. What this really means is that, number one, when it comes to your finances, you're savvy, okay? So for example, you have already paid off your debts, or you're aggressively paying off your debts because you understand that during situations like this, interest rates are going to sky high. They're going to go sky high, okay? If we think about what the Bank of England has done recently, they've increased their base rate to 1.75% from 1.25%. And prior to that, it was only 1% because, again, this was caused by the pandemic, okay? Now, they haven't predicted any form of recession that's happening, but they may be slower to the game, or they may understand that if they predict it, then that's definitely going to put us in a shock state. So paying off debts is a very important thing. If you haven't done this already, think about how you can start aggressively paying off your debts, and think about strategies that may help you. This may be a 0% balance transfer card. This may be a really low percent loan. There are so many different, options you can go for. This may be the fact that you just need to be more disciplined in terms of how you pay off your debts and reduce your expenses when it comes to your lifestyle. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to do some sort of financial assessment. Now, with this financial assessment, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to be frugal, but, times are going to be hard. Let's be real. If we're looking at energy prices, so to speak, I think recently they have gone up by 54%, and they're predicting that in October, is likely to be an annual cost for energy within the UK of £2,800. And then there's another increase, potentially, if this is predicted, to £3,000 in January 2023. Now, this is early days, but this may reduce in April as well. But again, we don't know. It's too early to say. So we're feeling the squeeze. We're feeling the pinch. So doing some sort of financial analysis is going to be crucial in this space, and understanding what do your behaviors tell you in terms of your financial management. You may do an export of your bank information. You may download or, get an account from Money Dashboard, so it can integrate with your banks and help you do this information for you, so you can get a better understanding, because decisions are going to be key here in this space. In addition to that, it's important to understand that if you can find any better deals when it comes to your energy or whatever it may be, that would be a good thing. Now, of course, I don't see that happening during this time, because energy providers are quite worried about what is happening. And of course, they need to find ways to support and help you. But again, we have to see it as we're on our own in this situation. Okay. So think about ways in which you can make cuts and stuff, but we have to be cognizant. In this day and age, we recognize that mental health is so important to us. Okay. So don't completely stop doing things, but see if you can make better decisions. In addition to that, I think it'd be a good idea to reduce any big expenditures that you're looking to make. This potentially could be a deposit. This potentially could be, going on holiday. This potentially could be buying a car. These things need to be rethought if you don't have that income, so to speak, because that money, which leads on to my next point, could be used as a solid emergency fund. Okay. Again, it would make sense if you had done this before, but if you hadn't, see if you can start developing this stuff, developing an emergency fund, okay, where you can, so that you feel comfortable. Of course, they usually say 3 to 12 months plus is always good. So you need to calculate what can you realistically do. And this is why looking at your expenses is going to be ever so important. Also, I would say it's important to make sure you've got the right level of insurances. Okay, so make sure you've got your contents insurance or your buildings insurance. Well, you have to have a buildings insurance if you've got a mortgage, as an example. Have you got income protection? What if you fall ill and there are situations where you need that support? So do you have health insurance or critical illness? Okay, think about all these little things, and the time's to do it now before premiums go up. Okay, especially during this time, because these companies are going to be on it. Okay, I'm telling you, because they need to protect themselves. This is where job cuts become a big thing. Another thing to think about is things like boiler insurance as well. You have to think about those emergencies. So cover yourself in those different situations. Also, when it comes to making money, and let's say, for example, you may get laid off. Are there any industries that you can really capitalize on during this time? So there are quote unquote recession proof, if you want to call it that, industries that may exist. This may include those industries within the industrial space. This may include healthcare. It could include other spaces. So maybe this is a little bit of a thing that you may have to have, okay, in terms of places you could capitalize on. In addition to that, again, if you have a business, then it's important to start thinking about how can you adapt? How can you improve? And usually this includes, number one, how can you be more niche and more helpful to individuals? So this may include helping people with their finances. This may include helping people make more money. This may include helping people with their mental state and their mindset and their confidence. It could include helping people get new roles. These are all things that could be included in terms of helping people during this time. So think about how you can slightly pivot if that makes sense, because They all say this is where you make the most money. This is an opportunity. It may be the case, but again, people are going to be on edge. People are going to be anxious. And if you have the right mental fortitude to support people during this time, then this is a perfect opportunity to do it. So when thinking about your business, if you have one, you've started one up, also think about how you make decisions. If it's a big business, then can you decentralize that information? Evidence has shown that when you've decentralized decision making, in other words, got other people to make decisions for their own local areas, they're more adaptable. So the nimble and flexible and adaptable person is more likely going to win if they have the right sort of strategy. The second thing is, have you planned for a situation like this? Okay, what is your resilience model? What are you doing in terms of, reserves? Like, have you got money saved away to protect you from any issues that may occur, or insurances like professional indemnity and public liability and all these different things that may protect you during these times? So think about those things. Also think about how can you, rather than thinking of, getting rid of people, could you make operational improvements instead? Because usually when you make operational improvements in the long term, it really helps you out because you need those individuals to help you when it comes to productivity. And finally, are there ways to improve your digital space? Really think about interoperability and integrations. Really think about data flows. Really think about how can you automate things to make better analytical decisions that may help you as a leader, so to speak. Because really, this is going to really affect how you make decisions. So you need support in that space. If you don't have a business, then think about how can you do something that can support people, okay? This may be coaching. Again, if you're looking to become a coach, this is something that I definitely specialize in and can help you with. There's also things around helping people start businesses as well. And like I said, helping people with their finances, etc., etc. There's also the stock market. Okay. Now, many people have spoken about this. You've got many financial advisors who mention this on a regular basis. And this is dollar cost averaging. I believe it's called, at least anyway. Again, I'm not a financial person. And essentially what this means is that even if the market is going up or down, you still consistently stick to putting in the same amounts each time. Because what that really means is that on average, you'll gain more growth relative to just trying to time the market. Okay. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with the market. So with that in mind, it's best to remain consistent. Now, there are some sort of like famous, I think it's the guy who wrote, I'll Teach You How to Be Rich. I've forgotten his name. But he's like, you kind of need to be aggressive in this game. If you can deposit 10 to 20% of your gross income into a safe index fund, okay, one that you can bet on, and if you've done your research and you looked into, then do that consistently with dollar cost averaging, okay, because you're more likely going to win against the market, where typically, growth is anywhere between 8 to 12% if you're lucky for a good conservative index fund. Okay. So think about all these different things there. Maybe you understand other markets like the whole crypto space and everything else. That's up to you to decide. It's not really a hard game I play. I've got a bit of money in crypto, but for me, it's really in these other spaces as well. The other thing I would say is, which is not really spoken about, is develop a mastermind group. Okay, develop some sort of mastermind group or an accountability buddy who can help you stay accountable to these goals, so that during this time, you can at least say you actually did these things. Okay, and have that against some sort of plan that you're looking to reach, because again, this only comes around every so often. We're not always going to get a pandemic. We're not always going to get a recession. We're not always going to get wars. All of these things affect the socio-economic fabric of our society. And therefore, there is an opportunity to understand how the game is working and, really make some opportunities here. Even if the opportunity is to start anew, okay? It doesn't always have to be a money situation thing. So really think about how you can reinvent yourself. Okay, because this time will be difficult for some, not for everyone, but for some. People will be feeling the squeeze, and not everyone makes the same income. I think the average income is between 25 to 30K a year. And so we have to be sympathetic, we have to be understanding, and we have to know what we're looking to do in this situation. Are we going to survive or are we going to thrive? Both are better than dying. Let's be real. So if we can at least avoid the death, because we get a sense of what's happening, then that's better. Again, I'm not an expert in this space, but I would, look up information around this stuff, listen to the real experts in the game, and try to get a sense of what's happening or what could happen so that you can be better prepared. And look, like I said, if you have this mindset anyway, then you're going to really, really, really have a great time during this space, because you've already made the right level of preparations. And I said it's a preparation game. I think it was the Harvard Business Review that said those organizations that really did well, I think it was 9% of the total amount that they looked at, really thrived during this time, and no one could really catch up with them. And the one thing that they did that the others didn't do was prepare. They prepared well. And so preparation is the key to any form of achievement and success. So let me know, how are you going to thrive during this time if we reach a recession? Leave your comments below. If you want to learn more information about how you can get involved in improving your personal and professional development and your acumen as a leader, then click on the link below to find out how you can join the Mastery Academy, where we share this information, where we create a community of high potential, high achieving individuals. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.